Welcome to Cartoonplex, where we explain complex ideas with cartoons. So today, we're going to discuss DNA, genes, and epigenetics. We'll show you where DNA lives in our cells, what it's made of, what exactly genes are, and how the environment and your behavior affects those genes. First, let's start with, what is epigenetics? Epi is a Greek prefix meaning over and above. So, epigenetics is over and above genetics. And genetics is just a branch of biology that deals with genes and heredity in organisms. So, epigenetics is the study of changes in organisms caused by a change in the way genes are expressed. But, what's a gene? Well, let's start with the cell. Cells make all living things such as our bodies. The center of a cell is known as a nucleus. Inside the nucleus are chromosomes. In humans, there are 23 pairs of chromosomes in a cell. Chromosomes are tightly wound chromatin that wind up to prepare for cell division. Chromatin is made of a thread-like chromatin fiber. The thread is made up of DNA strands surrounding a protein. This section of DNA around the proteins are called nucleosomes. These proteins are called histones. Histones are positively charged and are attracted to the negatively charged DNA, which allows the DNA to wrap around it. The wrapping around of histones is what allows DNA to become chromatin and fit inside the cell's nucleus. Without histones, the DNA would be too large. So now, DNA is made up of a sugar-phosphate backbone, which is a sugar molecule attached to a phosphate molecule, and it holds a nitrogen base. This combination is called a nucleotide. When a nucleotide's nitrogen base is connected to another nucleotide's nitrogen base, we get a base pair. Base pairs are made of two nitrogen bases connected by positive and negative electrostatic attraction that we call a hydrogen bond. This hydrogen bond holds the DNA together like a zipper. Nitrogen bases can be one of four types in DNA: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. The orders of nitrogen bases create sequences such as ATGCAT or TAGACT. The sequence segments of DNA that are used as code to create proteins are called genes. So when talking about epigenetics, we are discussing how we may have a gene in our DNA, but it can be expressed and active, used to create proteins, or not expressed and dormant, based on external factors. An example of this on and off gene expression can be seen in skin cells. When in the sun, your skin cells will turn on the pigment gene in an attempt to protect your skin from the sun. But when you're no longer being threatened by the sun, it will turn off that pigment gene. And think about this. Every cell in your body has the same DNA, which contains all of your genes. So why isn't every cell the same? You have skin cells, heart cells, lung cells, brain cells, and on and on. Imagine these cells as workers at a company, each in their own department. The employees at the skin department, skin cells, only express genes related to the skin. Heart cells express genes related to the heart, and so on. The cells become specialized by only expressing the genes it needs. Stem cells are cells that haven't determined what kind of cell to be yet. Think of them as a student in college trying to figure out what career path to choose. They can base their decision on either internal or external factors. An example of an external signal that can cause stem cells to choose a path includes the types of cells they are surrounded by. For example, if you have a student stem cell hanging around with a bunch of blood cell workers, then that stem cell may choose to also become a blood cell. If you'd like to know more about stem cells, leave a comment below. And then remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can see that video when it comes out. So, if we're going to talk about epigenetics, we need to talk about DNA methylation. Methylation is when a methyl group, a chemical made of one carbon and 3 hydrogen atoms, CH3, attach itself to genes to prevent them from expressing. When attached to a gene, if a messenger RNA or mRNA tries to copy the gene to express it, it can't because the methyl group blocks it. This is known as gene silencing. If you want to learn more about how genes create proteins and are expressed, let me know in the comments below. And remember, hit that subscription and notification bell to see the video when it comes out. Histones. You know those proteins that DNA wraps itself around? They can also be modified through methyl groups, like DNA, or by enzymes known as histone acetyltransferases, or HATS, and enzymes known as histone deacetylases, HDACS, which removes HATs. What the methyl groups and HDACs do is cause the DNA to tighten around the histones so the mRNA can't reach that gene, silencing the gene. HATs relax the DNA around the histones so the mRNA can reach and copy the gene. The other way genes are silenced is through microRNA being created to stop messenger RNA from copying the gene by either slicing the messenger RNA or attaching to the messenger RNA to prevent it from being translated. Research has shown that what we eat, what we drink, whether we exercise or not, how mentally stimulating our environment is, psychotherapy, and even whether or not we meditate can influence these 3 different ways of silencing or activating genes. For example, a pregnant mother's environment and behavior can affect a child's epigenetics and make a child more likely to get certain diseases. One such study was done on men and women 60 years after their mothers were pregnant with them during the Dutch Hunger Winter Famine, 1944 through 1945. The study found that those men and women were more likely to develop heart diseases, diabetes, and schizophrenia due to methyl group levels on certain genes that weren't found in their younger siblings who were born after the famine was over. Another study showed that smoking cigarettes adversely affected the level of methyl groups that would attach to a gene called AHHR, which helps control immune responses. But by quitting, over time, that level would return to normal. So make sure you take care of your mind, body, and genes. If you learned something from this video, give it a thumbs up. If there's a topic you want us to break down next, leave it in the comments below. Or if something clicked for you that didn't before, let me know as well by typing it below. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll know when the next video comes out.